during their victory parade. Devin White, JPP, Shaq Barrett, and what seemed like every other member of the team took the mic to say that they're going to repeat as champions. Even the guys at top couldn't help themselves, with GM Jason Light saying, quote, "We're going to bleep and win this thing again." And then Bruce Arians also didn't hold back. Take a listen.
Anybody that says running back, all right, that's Kansas City. We're going for two. We're going to keep this band together, and they know how to win.
Shannon, you have a problem with any of this?
I don't have a problem with it, Skip, no. That's what you said, these things. Skip, I've never heard anybody say, like, nah, we good with one. We ain't trying to get back here. Everybody says that we're going to repeat because they know ultimately that's how you're judged. There have been a lot of teams that's won one in a row.
Yep.
Mike Shanahan told us the very first time after we won, we came in there for that first meeting. He said, if you want to be special, you got to repeat.
Well, sure. Okay.
So,
all right. But he said that to you. He didn't say it to us.
No. We didn't do it. And Skip, if you think about it, you never saw any of that in New England.
Yep.
They won 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and they didn't say nothing about no next year.
Nothing.
So I that's the difference when the expectations, because they got this, there were some expectations, but I don't think anybody expected them to reach the pinnacle so soon.
Yep.
And so everybody's feeling good. Oh, we bringing everybody back. Skip, and I thought the exact same thing. Man, I'm looking around like, man, if we get Zim to come back, we get this one to come back, you a free agent. He go, it's never going to be the same. Unfortunately for them, all the coaching vacancies look like they're filled, so they're not going to lose Byron Leftwich, or they're not going to lose Todd Bowles. They're not going to lose anybody off their staff, so the staff is going to come back intact.
Good point.
But they do have some free agencies. They have Shaq Barrett. Somebody's going to throw $100 million at Shaq Barrett. It's going to be hard to walk away considering, Skip, I was an undrafted free agent. And for the first 5 years, 4 or 5 years of my career, I didn't even make $1 million a year. Now, he may got a big payday last year, that franchise tag, but somebody's going to give him an opportunity to have generational wealth. I don't know if he turns that down. I don't believe he does. Chris Godwin, somebody's going to throw a boatload of money at him because he was a number 2, and a lot of teams are going to believe that he can be a number 1. So they're going to pay him number 1 money, somewhere averaging probably around $15 to $17 million a year.
Yeah.
I don't know if he turns that down. But the greatest equalizer, one of the greatest things that will come into play while you don't repeat is what happened to Kansas City. You lose 4 offensive starters. Skip, remember, early in the season, Osimile was lost, and he was playing outstanding.
Good player.
So you lose Osimile, you lose Fisher, you lose Schwartz, you lose one of your guards before the season because he opts out to do COVID in his native Canada. So basically, you're down 4 starting offensive linemen.
Okay. It happens.
Injuries.
Yep.
And that's the thing that you're going to have to guard against. You're going to lose some of your free agents, but injuries is the number 1 reason why I believe, Skip, obviously you have some complacency, but I believe injury is the number 1 key to why teams don't repeat.
All right. My turn. You have won 3 Super Bowls in 3 tries, so you do know what of you speak. I've covered many, many Super Bowl winners, and I've been sort of inside the reaction to Super Bowls. In all my years covering the National Football League, I have never, ever witnessed, this time from a distance, a more outrageously outspoken guarantee of a reaction as these guys gave us yesterday. They were guaranteeing they're going to come back and win a second one. I'm sorry, it just took me aback for a while because it went all the way up to the general manager just saying, we're going to effing win this thing again. That's a strong statement from an executive. You just don't get them. And remember, I was around those 90s Cowboy Dynasty teams led by Michael Irvin, who can get as full of himself as anybody who ever played the game of football. Well, I never got any of this.
No.
They broke through a year early because of the Charles Haley trade, so they had the catalyst that got them over the hump past the 49ers. Big upset at Candlestick to get them to a Buffalo team that was overmatched against them in the Super Bowl, and it was a wipeout. I got none of this. I think they were just kind of shocked by, we did this? Yeah. Jimmy kept telling you, you're good enough to do this. Okay. But nobody said, we're going to do this again next year. But they did do it again next year. And then they didn't say boo about doing it a third year. No one ever won 3 in a row. But nobody talked like this. I've never heard anything like this. And then we even get to the head coach. Obviously, he'd had a couple, and he's obviously outspoken to start with. But for him just to go off on the Chiefs, with the microphone in his hand, he says, anybody that says run it back, which is what the Chiefs kept saying is their second time around, he said, you know what? But he said, BS. That was Kansas City's BS. We're just going for 2. And he acted like it's just a done deal. We're going to do it. We're a band of brothers. We're all coming back. Well, money talks as opposed to the coach speaking.
Exactly.
But that's what he said. And then of the Chiefs, he said, we physically kicked their ass. Well, they did.
Yeah.
That was a nasty butt kicking to me because that defense, once it gets cranked, thanks to Todd
Well, they
Bowles,
beat their offense up too. They beat their offense. They beat Kansas.
Beat the
Bucs.
defense.
Yes, Bucs offense beat Kansas City's defense.
Leonard Fournette just beasted them.
Yes.
Okay, I got it. The offensive line just stood them up and stood them off. Okay.
Yep.
So the point is, usually I'd be horrified by this kind of talk, but as I watched it yesterday unfold, it rang true to me. It's like they believe it with all their might. They believe they're coming back and win it again. Are they a little naive? Well, why did they believe it? Because they have the GOAT at quarterback who's playing better than ever, going on 44. So they're thinking, we got that guy. He's a Super Bowl MVP. So that's why you're empowered. You get a little too full of yourself because you're speaking from a position of strength.
But Skip, because they've never been in there, Tom has been in there. They don't know how hard it's going to be. You're about to be. See, this year.
Now you got the target and all that.
Everybody's Super Bowl.
Sure.
Everybody measures them by what they do against you.
Okay. But the reason I didn't have a problem with it was it didn't ring like false bravado. It didn't come off as fake tough guy talk. It sounded like a bunch of tough guys saying, we're just going to do this again.
Oh, well, Skip. You don't think when Kansas City had their parade, they didn't think they were going to run it back?
Well, I'm sure they did. It was different, though. The feeling was different. They just had kind of like this supreme confidence, like we're just more gifted than you are. We got Tyreek. We obviously got Kelsey, and we got the best quarterback who ever threw the football.
I think the thing is they didn't think they were going to go besieged with the injuries to the offensive line like they got.
Well, obviously, and that's the great leveler, and it can happen to this team.
Right.
But we have seen teams win 2 in a row. And
Skip, there's a reason why it hadn't been done in 16, 17 years now. Because
3.
It's hard.
2 in a row.
Yes.
Well, 3 in a row is
never been done. Yeah.
Right.
Like I said, the 49ers they won 88, 89, and then they lost in the championship game by 3 to the Giants when Roger Craig fumbled and LT recovered. They kicked the field goal. Because, Skip, there's a reason teams don't repeat. It's hard.
Okay. But what did the quarterback say pre-Super Bowl? Tom Brady said last week, very matter-of-factly, we will be better next year. Well, what is he talking about? He's talking about
the continuity, the understanding
and
of
familiarity, right?
Yes.
Because they had to just throw it together on the fly with no preseason.
Right.
They had to figure it out in Week 13's bye week. Came the latest of any team's bye week. They had to figure it out.
Right.
Oh, this works, but that doesn't work. And somehow they got on a miraculous late season roll and won their last 8 games.
Right.
Well, he's saying, gee, give me a chance. And do you think Tom will work any less in this offseason than he worked? No, he'll be right out there just as driven as ever.
But Skip, that's the thing. You had COVID and you had their best running back opting out. You had one of their better offensive linemen opting out. You had the offensive line getting besieged by injuries. So that's what I'm talking about. See, you're talking
Kansas
about
City,
you're talking to Tampa's talking about, okay, we're coming back and everything. We're not going to have any, because they really didn't lose anybody with significant injury for any length of time. I think Devin White, Skip, he missed the game. He missed the last game, and he missed the last game, or maybe the first game of the playoffs with the COVID protocol. Well, he missed the last game. I think he came back for COVID for protocols. But for the most part, Skip, they missed. I think they had a guard that was out for maybe 2 weeks.
No, well, Alex Kappa, no, he was lost.
Marpet was out for a game or 2 also.
Marpet was, but Kappa got hurt against Washington in the first playoff game, and he was gone for the rest of the year. But when they're playing with their backup left guard.
Right. So when you start Stinney, when you start, you know, your offensive line and you lose a tackle, you lose Tristan Wirfs, who graded the highest.
No, he did.
Dude graded up all those snaps. He gave up 1 snap the entire season.
All right. But as little Scotty Miller said yesterday, he thinks that they have the best group of receivers in the league. Well, again, you can go depth. He's talking about there are just too many of us. Well, I'll give you the depth of them. I will not give you Tyreek and Kelsey because they're just better. Those two are better than anybody Tampa has. But if we just go 1 through 8, a lot of, again, they could lose Chris Godwin, which has got potential, and be okay because they signed AB. And remember, Scotty Miller and Tyler Johnson, who had big catches during the year, Scotty had no targets in the Super Bowl, and Tyler Johnson had one that zoomed right by his hands, and he wasn't looking. That was the end of him. Okay? You don't think they're going to be factors next year because they're young players?
Yeah, they might not have the choice but to be factors because you lose Chris Godwin. So now AB is going to move to the number 2 slot, and so now somebody has to be that 3rd and 4th wide receiver.
Okay,
so they'll get more opportunities.
Rob Gronkowski, Cameron Brate, who caught the Lombardi yesterday, and O.J. Howard, who tore his Achilles tendon. I don't know what he'll be when he comes back, but potentially he's the best of the tight ends. What if you add him to the mix and he's 95% of what he used to be? You don't think they have depth at receiver? You don't think they can be just as overwhelming as they were this year? Right? And Ronald Jones is going to be there. I will bet you Fournette will be back. My little guy, Keyshawn Vaughn from Vanderbilt, had his moments. He'll contribute next year. All of a sudden, that's a deep football team with a lot of young talent on it. So you're going to bet against them next year? I'm not.
I think the only thing that you're not surprised at what they're saying. You're surprised that they said it publicly because everybody has this kind of confidence. The Cowboys had this kind of confidence behind the scenes. Normally, teams have this kind of confidence behind the scenes. They're not because, Skip, when we won in Baltimore,